what happens to a budget constraint when either the income changes or one of the prices change? Well, let's think about it here. So here I have 3 budget constraints drawn, and here over on the left we'll think about what happens when the price of Y decreases, and then here in the middle we'll talk about what happens when the price of X decreases, and then over here on the right we'll talk about what happens to a budget constraint when income increases, right? Okay. So first of all, the price of Y decreasing. So let's think about that. So price of Y decreasing. Well, if somebody's over here on their budget constraint where they're buying only X and no Y, if they were there and the price of Y changed, well, they could still afford exactly that amount of X still, right? If the price of Y changed. So this point here should still be on the new budget constraint after the price of Y has decreased, right? However, if they were spending all their money on Y and they were here, well, now that the price of Y has decreased, they should be able to buy more, right? So just qualitatively, it should be somewhere up here where the new intercept is. So let's just put it there. So we know we're going to have a straight line for the budget. So connecting the dots, we hit a budget constraint that looks something like that. So notice that the budget constraint pivoted up and the intercept on the y-axis moved up, whereas the intercept on the x-axis did not. So that's qualitatively how the budget constraint would shift if the price of y decreased. Now you can imagine, well, what if the price of y increased? Well, it's essentially the opposite, right? They would be able to buy less y, and so the budget constraint would shift downwards, right, in the opposite manner. Okay, so now let's think about what happens to somebody's budget constraint when the price of X decreases. Well, it's the same idea, right? They would still be able to buy the same amount of Y if they were spending all of their money on Y, right? Because the price of X changing isn't going to affect how much Y you can buy if your income and the price of Y hasn't changed. However, if the price of X is decreasing, then you're going to be able to buy some more X, right? So the new intercept for the x-axis should be somewhere over here to the right of the old intercept, right? So let's just put it here. And so connecting the dots again, the new budget constraint would look something like this, right? Where the old y-intercept is again an intercept for this budget constraint, and the x-axis has a new intercept here to the right of the old intercept. And again, you can imagine, well, what happens if the price of X increases, if it moved in the opposite direction? Well, then, again, the budget constraint would shift downward rather than up, right? And then lastly, let's think about what happens as income increases. Well, as income increases, well, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're consuming just spending all your money on Y, spending all your money on X, or somewhere in between, spending a little bit of money on both, you're going to be able to buy more of everything, assuming that prices haven't changed, right? And in fact, the slope of this line here is equal to the ratio of the two prices. And so if we assume that the prices aren't changing, that means the ratio of the prices shouldn't change, which means the slope shouldn't change. So if income is changing, then the slope of the new budget constraint should be the same as the slope of the old budget constraint, meaning the budget constraints should be parallel to each other if income is the only variable that's changing. Now, if income is increasing, again, that means you can buy more of either type of good, right? So just drawing a budget constraint that is parallel to the old one and where they can buy more of either good is going to look something like this. So if income increases, then the budget constraint will shift outward so that they can buy more of both types of goods. And since none of the prices are changing in this scenario, that means that the budget constraints are going to be parallel to each other, right? And again, you can imagine what happens if income decreases. Well, if income decreases, then the budget constraint would move in the opposite direction. It would decrease, and people would be able to, the person with this budget constraint would be able to afford less, right? Okay, thank you for watching.